How you doing? This is the Alcohol Mastery podcast. I'm Kevin O'Hara. I thought I'd start these again because it's just a bit easier for me to do a podcast once a week and try and answer a few questions if I can, and just have a chinwag and get through some things in a lot less time than I would have to do if I was making a video. So I'm going to start off today with just a few questions, a few comments and stuff that I found on YouTube and on the website. Got a comment from Mike Taylor saying, "Love these videos, but where the fuck are you walking to?" Well, if I'm walking anywhere, it's back to my car. I normally start on a circular route. You know, I start out, park the car up, and sort of guesstimate how much I want to walk. Normally, it's if I walk in the mornings, I walk from the house. So I have a circuit that takes about 8.5 kilometers, so roughly about an hour and a half. And I tend to leave the house at 6 o'clock, so it's a circular walk. If I go out somewhere, I park the car somewhere and I walk in a circular route that leads me obviously back to the car. Where am I walking to? I'm not walking to anywhere. I'm not. The reason why I'm walking is not to get anywhere. I have a much better means of transport in my car. I have a bicycle if I want to get somewhere a bit faster. I mean, sometimes we do take a walk down to the local village and we walk to the local Indian. Sometimes we drive the car down to the local village. We've got 2 cars and we'll drive both cars down to the village. And then I'll come back in Esther's car and we'll walk back down, which is maybe 6 kilometers. And it's a nice walk. We'll have something to eat and then drive back. But in general, I walk for exercise. I walk because it keeps me supple. It keeps me moving. It keeps me thinking. I generally walk first thing in the morning because it helps me to think, to plan the day. And it's one of those things, if you've got a great morning routine, if you've got something which becomes a habit in the morning, you know, like drinking a pint of water is a great thing to do in the morning. Brushing your teeth is a great thing to do in the morning. So brushing your teeth, then that leads on to drinking water, and that leads on. For me, I tend to do a bit of reading in the morning before I do anything else, and then head out for a walk as soon as I can see it's getting any way bright and I can see in front of me. I'll head out for a walk. And it's really, if I don't walk in the mornings, it sort of sets my day up wrong. So it puts all the rest of the day, puts it behind, so to speak. And if I do go out walking, it puts me in a right frame of mind for the rest of the day. So that's why I'm walking. That's where I'm walking to. There's no, for me, most of the time when I walk, it's not trying to get anywhere, you know. You know, if I go into the mountains and I walk, it's not to get to the top. You know, once you get to the top, it's only halfway there. You've got to come back down again. So if I'm walking to anywhere, when I'm walking in the mountains, it's back to the car again, you know. So the reason I walk up the mountains is just because it makes me feel good. It makes me feel good physically. It makes me feel good mentally. By the time I've come down off the mountain, my legs are hurt, my feet hurt, I feel tired, but my brain feels like it's just done something good, you know. I feel enervated. It's funny, years ago, I used to do taekwondo with my son. It's going back maybe, how old is he now? So maybe 12, 13 years, 14 years even. And at the time I was working in the forestry, and it was a strange thing because most of the time the taekwondo class started at 7 o'clock in the evening and finished at 9. And most of the time I just didn't want to do it, but Sean kept me sane. You know, he kept me going there because he was waiting to go there, you know, and we do our class, and you know, it wasn't 2 hours of all in exercise. There was a lot of up and down, so there'd be a lot of what they call pattern work, which was basically doing the same thing over and over again, trying to get habituated to doing the same moves and to doing the same moves correctly. So you do the same move over and over, and you work on your form rather than anything else, you know. So but at the end of it, when I finished after 9 o'clock, I always felt loads better, more alive than I walked in, than I had done when I walked in. And I get something similar to that when I walk up mountains. I don't get it when I'm walking around my normal routes, but when I go, twice a week, I go to a local mountain here. I'm not sure of the height of it, but it's about 5 kilometers to the top from where I stop now. It's not, you know, it's a gradual walk to get up there, so it's not straight up. And then once I get to the top, there's a circular route, so the whole route is about 17 kilometers. And when I get back to the car, like I say, I'm always tired, but it feels, that's the closest I can get to that innovation that I feel, that I felt when I used to do the Taekwondo. There's a comment here from Wapla. I'm so glad you brought this up out into the open. I was talking about, I'll tell you now, the video was, what if you forget you're a non-drinker? Are you an alcoholic? So this person says, I'm so glad you brought this up out into the open. I miss my wine when I see a pretty bottle or a glass, and particularly grape or vintage, miss the taste. Then I have to think it's not automatic. How? Then I have to think, and in brackets it says it's not automatic. Close bracket. How alcohol has hurt my relationships with my children, my husband, and the people I love so very much. I've harmed them and I've caused them pain. I feel so bad. Well, you know, don't feel bad about these things. You know, of course, we all feel regret about things that we've done in the past. But your past is something that is completely out of your control. You cannot do anything about it. What you can do is, from now on, you know, and it's, if you understand this about your past, if you understand that you've hurt people in your past and you're talking about not doing the same thing over and over again. I'm not sure if I've got somebody outside now. No. Sorry. I'm just at home. If you can hear something in the background here, it's a fan. I've actually got 2 fans on today because it's about 39 degrees and it's roasting. You're getting back to this. If you understand these things about your past, you know, if you've hurt people in your past, you know, as you say, you've hurt your children, you've hurt your relationships with your children and your husband and the people that you love so much. You know, this is the time to use that as an education to change yourself. I mean, a lot of the time when we do these things, we don't realize that we're doing them. You know, I mean, I've heard a lot of people when I was drinking, and sort of we turn a blind eye to them. I think I did. You know, I think what's called confabulation, in that we sort of hide what we don't want ourselves to see behind excuses. We tend to see the things that we want to see, and we push other things to the back of our minds, and we don't want to face up to the facts, you know. You know, and a lot of the time we convince ourselves that we're doing it for a reason. We're drinking for a reason, and it's the reason why we're drinking is perfectly logical, and it's a perfectly legitimate reason for doing it. And it's once you understand this kind of stuff and you start digging into it and you start realizing that there is no excuse for for behaving this way, for doing this to yourself first and foremost. I mean, as I've said all along, when you drink like this, you not only damage yourself physically and mentally, but you also damage the other people around you. You damage damage not only your close relationships, you damage your reputation, you damage your life in terms of, you know, the opportunities that you can get from people. And as I said, you can't do anything about this. You know, all of this past stuff is out of your control. You know, what people think of you in the future is also going to be out of your control. You can't do anything about that. But what you can do is change the way you are now, you know. So change that thing about getting the alcohol out of your system first. That's the ultimate, the first thing you have to do, the foundation stone before you can do anything else, is to get the alcohol out of your system. Don't put any more alcohol into your body. Once you do that, then you can start building on that, right? And regardless of what other people say to you, you've got control over putting the alcohol into your mouth. You're the only one who can control that. You're the only one who can either do it or not do it, right? So I found that it took a long while before people started to trust me again. And it wasn't that, you know, I noticed this at first, because I didn't realize how much people didn't trust me. And that sort of came about with just a lot of the things that people were asking me to do after I stopped drinking that people never asked me to do beforehand. People used to come to me, people started coming to me with questions about health and what was I doing about this kind of thing and what did I think about that, and people never talked to me about that before. You know, I was always, you know, people would come to me obviously, and you know, like I was the air quotes, the life and soul of the party, you know, but I wasn't really. You know, when you look back on it, I was the joke of the party, you know, the joke of the family, and all because I used to drink so much. You know, I used to drink until I got drunk every time, you know, or most of the times, whenever I could handle it, you know, whenever I could manage it. So anyway, just concentrate yourself on being a better person yourself. I mean, I think one of the best things that you can do is to focus on your values, and what values you want to have for yourself in life. You know, what do you value? You obviously value your family and your relationships. So, you know, once you've got that in your life, that understanding of this is one of your values, then you have to start asking yourself what you're doing in your life which is either going to hurt those values or it's going to strengthen the values. Strengthen the things that you value and move towards that, you know. But as I say, move towards something is the prime objective here. Move towards something, whether it's building your relationships, building a business, building a better life for yourself and your family, whatever it is, you're moving towards something and away from alcohol. And the closer you get to that goal, the more distant you'll get away from alcohol, and the more you'll see alcohol for what it really is, and it's just you know, it's an inert liquid in a bottle that is going to never do you any good when it's inside your bottle. When it's inside your body, it will never do you any harm once it remains inside the bottle. So stay away from the toxin. The great Utopia Cat, you should edit this with all your panting taken out. Lol. The flow of information is quite slow for us ADHD generation. Yeah, it's one of those things. I apologize for a lot of the panting that I've been doing lately because the local walks since we moved into this house are all on roads, so it's just impossible for me to do videos. And then normally when I go out walking here in the mornings, it's too dark to do videos anyway, you know. And when I've been doing videos up in the mountains, you know, when I'm walking upwards, you're going to get panting, and when I'm walking downwards, they're on roads again, you know. So, and I can't think straight when I've got cars coming by me all the time. So that's the reason for the panting. So I haven't been doing. I've done a lot of videos since that, where I've been walking up into the mountains, pausing, and just sitting there and doing a few videos. So I hope you like them, and I hope they weren't fluffing around with your ADHD. So yeah. Jimmy Oakland says, I quit 31 years ago, August 8th next. Best decision I ever made. The best thing about it, no more hangovers. It's still the best. I love waking up in the morning. I have to say that is one of my favourite things now. And not only that, it's not going to bed the night before and, you know, knowing that you're going to get a hangover and knowing that the day is going to be wasted, you know. It's getting up and knowing that once I can get out and do that walk every morning and start myself off on a proper routine, get myself into the ritual, I should say, not the routine, then, you know, everything seems to fall together. And, you know, I've said this time and time again, that in the last 4.5 odd years since I've quit drinking, I have achieved so much more than I would have achieved if I hadn't stopped drinking. And mostly because of that fact, you know, because, you know, the one day leads into another, right? And the consequences of drinking alcohol, you know, they not only follow through on the days that you're not drinking, because, you know, your mind, your brain is still seeped in alcohol, or it's recovering from the alcohol, you know. I mean, just because the alcohol has gone out of your system, it's no longer inside your cranium, it doesn't mean to say that you're fully functioning, because your brain has to overcome all the shit that's been happening because the alcohol was, you know, mixing around with your synapses and all the chemical balances. So, you know, one day, you know, you're talking about thinking about alcohol, right? Preparing for drinking alcohol, then the drinking alcohol, then the consequences, and then overcoming the consequences, right? And that cycle just goes around and around and around. And not only that, the more you do this, the more alcohol you need, the deeper the consequences get, and the longer this cycle takes, you know, and the more accumulated damage that you get. So, you know, that the hangovers are the outward physical sign and the mental sign that there's something wrong, right? And we should understand this from the beginning, you know, from that first hangover that you ever get, from the first time you drink, and that drunken feeling that you get when the world is spinning and your body is physically trying to evacuate all the alcohol, the drink that you've put into it, right? It wants to get rid of the toxins. And from that moment on, when your body is on evacuation mode and your head is spinning, you feel horrible, we should stop then and go, what the fuck are we doing? What the fuck are we doing to ourselves? Why would I even want to put myself through this? And it takes a long time before your system can handle, you know, before you get that acquired taste. And not only the acquired taste, but that your body can take even small amounts of alcohol. You know, the amounts that would generally put you on your back a few weeks before or a couple of months before, you know. But it's a gradual process, and there's a lot of peer pressure to do it and to conform. And I think that's what pushes people out to do these things. But anyway, you know, like I say, it's the hangover which is the outward sign in later years. I think that your body in the earlier years, you know, once you sleep, it sort of recuperates a lot better, a lot quicker. You haven't taken as much alcohol into your body either, you know. I mean, when I first started drinking, I told this story a couple of times. There was a friend of mine who I can't remember the name of, and he used to laugh at me because all I could drink was 3 pints of beer, and I'd be pissed, I'd be really drunk. Not pissed mad, but pissed drunk. And my thing to him was always, well, look how much it costs you, you have to drink 10 pints to get to the same thing. And I thought it was really clever saying that, but deep down inside, I wanted to be like him. I thought of myself as being a bit of a wuss, only being able to drink 3 pints. And he was around my age. I mean, he might have actually been a year younger than me now that I think of it, But anyway, that was that. Ryan Justice says, 4 days clean, I've noticed a strange discomfort in my mind, like I don't want to feel, like I don't want the feeling of being clean, or I don't like feeling better. Laugh out loud. So strange. Also, a feeling of facing certain problems that I used alcohol to numb. I'll get over this, I know, staying strong. Well, it is, when you're drinking for a long time, you just get used to it. You don't just get used to the alcohol. You get used to the life. You get used to that feeling of being dulled, your senses being dulled, your body being dulled. And when you start to come out of that, when your body starts to clean itself up, and your mind starts to go back onto a normal level, it can be uncomfortable. You're starting to think, well, Jesus, a lot of people feel that they've got loads of energy. Other people feel like that they've been just sapped of energy. And I'm not too sure of why this happens with different people, but it's just one of those things that when you do stop drinking, these are certain things that are out of your control. You can't do anything about this. You can do a lot to sort of mitigate some of the things, right? By feeding yourself as well as you can. Cut out the caffeine and the soft drinks and the high sugar products, right? As much of the processed foods as you can, because, when you were drinking, a lot of the dampening down and the fluffy brain syndrome, right, with the alcohol, that dampens down a lot of the other symptoms that you're feeling. When I stopped, I felt like, over months now, I felt like I was peeling back the layers, and gradually, after a few days, you'd notice something that you didn't notice before. Your brain was a bit more awake, or you felt like you had loads more energy, right? And maybe a few days later, something else would peel back, and you'd notice something else about yourself, But when the months go on, and the feeling of alcohol sort of disappears, and you don't really want the alcohol anymore, and you start to really get the benefits of not drinking, then you start to notice how different things, your body is reacting to different things, how your mind is reacting to different foods that you're putting into it, right? And this is all under your control, right? Everything that you put into your mouth is under your control. Now, a lot of the time, it's something that we have to learn. It's something that I had to go through. It took me 8 months before I really started reading into a lot of stuff about my nutrition. And it wasn't only just through my own body and how I was feeling with the different things that I was eating. It was also my father went into hospital, and he had problems with his heart, and everyone thought that he wasn't going to come out. And, it just, one of the doctors said to me, well, it's because of his lifestyle. It's because of, A, he was a smoker for a lot of his life, B, because he drank, and C, because of the food that he was putting into his body. And, my dad loved his food. He loved a lot of meat. I've seen my dad, and I've followed him, where, you go over here in Spain, there's a big meat culture, and you can get sort of your plate filled with meat, and there will be maybe 5 or 6 chips, French fries or whatever on the side, and maybe a couple of lettuce leaves, and that's it, or a side dish of steamed or buttered up vegetables, But anyway, I'm getting off the point here. You'll start to notice, you start to peel back layers, and it's like having this. When you quit first, there's a thing called. Let me think of it now. It's like a habit foundational stone, where you take one habit, either it's a habit that you're constructing or it's a habit that you're deconstructing, you're trying to get rid of out of your life. Let's concentrate on the habit that you're constructing. So you take something very simple, like having a pint of water every morning as soon as you get up, right? Rehydrates yourself, and you make sure you get that rehydration first thing. Or let's say you go out and you walk for an hour or a half an hour every morning, or you get up onto the treadmill first thing in the morning, or whatever it is. But you try and build, let's say that it's just a physical fitness thing, right? It's something that you're trying to do either nutritionally or you're trying to exercise a bit more, whatever it is. And the more you do this, the more you build this habit into your life, you'll start to feel the benefits of that new habit, right? So the rehydration every morning, you'll start to feel the benefits of that, or the exercise, whatever it is, right? And when you start to feel the benefits in small ways, you start to think, how can I build on this? And that's what the foundational stone is. So it's the same thing when you stop drinking, right? Or you stop any other bad habit in your life. That once the effects of that bad habit start to wear away, and once we'll take it alcohol, for instance, once that brain fog starts to lift, you start to think a bit clearer. You start to understand and think about your alcohol life and think about where you are now. And then you start to unpeel the layers a little bit more and think how you can make small improvements to make things better. And you can concentrate on other things. I mean, when you're drinking alcohol and you're suffering through the consequences of alcohol, that becomes the all-encompassing thing that you're trying to get rid of. That, it hides everything else. And once you get rid of that, you get a freedom from that alcohol. Then you can start to look at other areas of your life, and other areas, like your nutrition and your exercise, they will start to make themselves known to you. You'll start to, whatever it is, you get the buzz for going out and exercising because you'll have more energy, and that leads you to trying to think of better ways to give yourself more energy because you like getting the energy buzz. I loved it. I love it. It's so I mean. If you'd have asked me 5 years ago where I would be in 5 years' time, it definitely would have been not eating meat or dairy products, not drinking, getting up every morning and walking. I mean, I did sort of 3,500 kilometers last year, and I'm sort of heading along to getting about 2,500 in this year, doing yoga. And yoga is one of those things for me which is, I haven't stayed with it all along. I keep going back to it and doing it for a while and getting bored with it. So there's something that I'm missing that that's not keeping me into it. I mean, maybe it's just not for me, I don't know. But I feel like it's something that I should be doing because I've just read so much about the benefits of yoga for a person as they're maturing, let's say. As your bones start to get stiffer. I've suffered all my life from what I call a bad back, right? But I think a lot of the time it's because of my posture, because of the way I sit, because of the way I move, and because I don't do much stretching, and even when I walk, I don't stretch. So I feel like I have to do this. I feel like I have to make yoga a part of my life, or some form of stretching. And I mean, I like yoga because there is a routine to it. There's certain exercises that will work certain parts of your body, and other exercises will work other parts. So anyway, Ryan, you're 4 days clean. I mean, it's a strange discomfort. It's all discomfort at the beginning. A lot of it is discomfort, and you feel discomfort just because you feel different, but stick with it. you know, a lot of the times we feel discomfort, we feel different because we've made that commitment. I mean, a lot of us can do 4 days without drinking because we know that at the weekend or on day 5 or day 6, whatever it is, you're going to have a drink, right? And there's nothing to it. You know, if you have to do it, if somebody locked you up in a prison cell for 30 days and said, right, you're not getting any drink, you're not getting any of this or that or the other, then most of us would be able to do that fine. You know, we think about it, but at the end of the day, you know, once you sort of point it out to yourself, well, it's only 30 days, I can do this, you know, then it's easy to do it. You know you're going to go back onto it. And that's the kind of mentality that you've got to try and take for yourself when you quit drinking, you know. Take it 30 days at a time and say to yourself, you know, this is 30 days. I can do 30 days easy, you know. And guaranteed, once you get over that 30-day mark, once you do that 30 days, and then you really sit down and examine where you are now and how much you feel better. And I always try and say to people, look, make a video of yourself on day 1 and talk to yourself as if you're talking to yourself from 30 days down the road or 6 months down the road. Talking to that person, you're talking to you 6 months down the road. And tell yourself how you feel now, both physically, how you feel mentally, how alcohol is affecting you, how it's affecting you physically, mentally, your relationships, spiritually, financially, all these other areas, right, that you can think of, right? And talk to yourself, this is what you don't want to be, you know, this is why you're quitting drinking alcohol. So after 30 days, take a look at that video and think about how much better you feel now physically and mentally, right? How much of a change has happened in your relationships. And guaranteed that there is going to be changes. You just have to notice them, you know. And then say, yeah, I can easily do another 30 days. You know, once it's difficult at the beginning to think about forever, right? Not drinking alcohol forever. But from my point of view now, 4.5 years into this, I know I'm never going to drink. You know, whenever I sniff a glass of wine now, I don't smell wine anymore. I don't smell any bouquet, or I'm not under that illusion anymore, you know. I smell vinegar, you know, pure and simple. And I think to myself, what the fuck was I doing putting that stuff into my body, right? When I smell, if I put 2 beers side by side, one is an alcohol-free beer, the other one's an alcohol beer, I can smell the alcohol straight away, and I like the alcohol-free beer, right? I wouldn't be able to drink the alcohol beer anymore, you know. I don't want to drink it anymore, you know. And it's just, I have no problem saying to myself now, never again, never going to drink again, forever, no matter what happens. That's it. John MDM says 17 days, thanks for your help. Good man. Frosthammer said, it's been over 1 year now. I've not touched alcohol. You were a pretty big part of that, and I thank you, my friend. Well, good for you, Frosthammer. I think the year is a great achievement. You know, it's just a great signpost. I'm not one for counting the days or counting but you know, once you get to that year, I'm still saying, you know, like I know 2nd of January, that's when I stopped. And I think anyone who quits drinking knows the day that they've stopped, even if it's 31st of October, whatever it is, you know. And it's a good sort of celebration, not because you've stopped doing what you're doing, but because you've moved on and because it was the start of the rest of your new life, you know. Susan Cunningham, why does this guy take so long to make a point? Why does he say the same thing 5 different ways? Well, Susan, I think sometimes people learn through repetition. It's the basic thing of habits, you know. I mean, you know, if it took one time for something to sink into to people's minds, then everyone would change, you know, within an instant. You know, you wouldn't need videos like these online, or you wouldn't need to a gobshite like me to be doing a podcast and stuff. So, you know, sometimes it says that you know, you have to repeat things, you know. It's repetition does the job, you know. And the video we're talking about 6 mistakes to avoid when quitting drinking booze. I mean, they were, in all fairness, it was 6 different mistakes. It wasn't the same mistakes that I was saying over and over again, you know. I mean, if I can recall about that video, I was talking about failing to prepare, where you put your focus, the gremlin inside of you, mourning the loss of alcohol, thinking that quitting drinking is enough. I think that was one of the other ones. So there's, maybe I was repeating myself, but sometimes it just, you need to have that repetition in order for the things to sink in. Patrick Murphy says, where are you? It's beautiful, not exact location or anything. I would not ask that, but what country? Well, I'm in Alicante in Spain, just south of Alicante. Paul Dale says, quick tip, don't have what looks like empty beer bottles in the back. Otherwise, cheers for your help and insight. What's that one now? Let's have a look at the video. Empty beer bottles. Oh, the blue bottles. This is start quitting by doing the things that need to be done. That's in my bar, and that's a white. It's a water bar. A wine bar, I was going to say. It's a water bar, and those, they look like wine bottles in the back actually, but they're actually water bottles. It's a brand of water that we get that's got this lovely blue bottle. It's like a royal blue bottle, and we don't buy this to bring home. It's something that we buy we get in our local restaurant when we order a bottle of water, and we ask, Esther always asks, can she take the bottles home? So they just make nice candle holders, or they're just up on the shelf to look nice, so they're not beer bottles. But I mean, I answered this saying no empty bottles in the background. What you're seeing is empty water bottles that we get locally. My partner drinks, members of my family drink. I'm talking about alcohol, and most of my friends drink. There are going to be countless times when you're confronted with empty beer bottles, right? Full beer bottles, empty wine bottles, full wine bottles, alcohol advertising, people drinking, the smell of alcohol, and all of this is outside of your control. So if seeing an empty beer bottle is a temptation, you've got a long way to go, right? You've got to look at this thing and see the empty beer bottles as just that. It's just an empty beer bottle. See a full wine bottle as just that. It's a bottle which is full of fermented grape juice, rotten grape juice. It's the same with the beer. It's rotted, whatever it is. You have to see things for what it is. It's toxic substances in a bottle, right? That's been sold to you, put nice pretty labels on them, and is sold to you as something that is going to change your life, something that is going to do something for you, and it's going to do nothing for you, nothing good anyway. Patrick Murphy says, stopped 3 weeks ago. I was so tired of my life and scared because I was hurting my body and making mistakes left and right. Dropping alcohol is the best first step I could have taken to change my life. My whole family has problems. I plan on changing that trend. Good for you, Patrick. I think it's one of the things that you've got to do. You've got to change yourself first. And again, going back to this control thing, it's something that you don't have a lot of control over, unfortunately, of what other people do. I made the mistake. It's something that I did in the beginning. Was I sort of went on put my soapbox out, and I was telling people why I wasn't drinking, a lot, and people get pissed off with that eventually, you know what I mean? They don't want to hear it, people change if they want to change, A lot of the time you'll find that the biggest incentive, the biggest push for people to change is going to come from them seeing how much you have changed, how much you have expanded your life because of stopping drinking. As I said earlier on, stopping drinking is only the first part of this, right? And to quit drinking, you just don't put the stuff into your mouth anymore. And if you don't put the stuff in, if on day one, if you quit drinking alcohol on the 1st of January, right? And you never put alcohol into your mouth, then 1st of January, that's the job done. You've achieved what your end is, quitting drinking on that day. It doesn't matter a year down the road when you've done your you've done your year, and you've got, the AA give you a fucking badge or whatever it is, a coin, is it? And say, well done, you've been a year off the alcohol. Fuck that, that's not the point of it. The year mark, right, is what you've done, this is your new start. But within that first year, I guarantee you that you will start to peel back the layers on your own self, and you'll start to see areas where you can make improvements. And it's that constant improvement, onwards and upwards, onwards and upwards. That's where you're going to see the differences. You know, I mean, I coined this phrase. I don't know when I started using onwards and upwards in my videos, but it wasn't until I think maybe 2 or 3 months after I'd stopped and I started making the videos. And it just seemed such a great phrase to use because of how I felt, how much my life was moving forwards. Not only forwards, but it was going up. Whereas before, I was slowly sinking backwards. And yeah, it's when other people start to see this and start to see the improvements that they will, A, do nothing, right, which you can't do anything about. B, they'll start to cut back on their alcohol, or C, they'll cut it out altogether and think, yeah, I don't need this, you know. All of these things you can't do anything about. All you can do something about, what's in your control, is what you put inside your mouth and how you live your life. You know, your thoughts first, then your actions. That's what's in your control. And if you do that, then you know all you can really do is to change yourself and hope that other people follow. Hope that other people see where you're going and do the right thing for themselves. Excuse me. Paul Dale says, really helped me with these videos. 30 years drunk, 14 days sober. Congratulations. Can't even put an image in my head of holding a drink. It's as if I'm not even me anymore. Weird. Yeah, it's something that you'll get. I love that kind of feeling as well, especially in the beginning, because you really don't have experience. I mean, if you're drinking for that long, 30 years, which is roughly what I drank for, you don't understand what it's like to not be a drinker. So even 14 days into it, you've got 2 weeks where you've got experience of not being a drinker, and not only not drinking, but not drinking with a view to never drinking again, right? To living your life as being a non-drinker, right? Even if you've got it in your mind whether, yeah, I might not be able to do this, or I'm only doing this for 30 days. At the back of your mind, you're thinking about things in a completely different way. And it changes the way you view things, right? And, you know, like you say, it's as if you're not yourself anymore. You know, we do change all the time. You know, they say in every 7 years that you're not the same person as you were physically, that every single cell or whatever inside your body is changed. I can't remember the exact details. I mean, there's some parts of your body change within days. There's some that change in weeks or months. You know, your brain cells, all that kind of stuff, you know, I think they renew unless something bad happens. So, you know, you're never going to be the same person. But I get where you're coming from, and it's a good feeling. Sometimes it's a scary feeling for people. It depends on how they view this and what frame they're viewing life, you know. David Farquhar says, thanks, Kevin, for your work and advice. Been listening to you for a while now. Been struggling with this poison for a while, but 1 week without it so far. Congratulations. Good for you, man. Fun Mizzy Piggle Antics, I think that says. I stop and then someone does something to hurt me. I start again. I wish I didn't have to deal with it. The vodka saves me at night, but the next morning I feel guilty that I went back to it. Then I have to try and kick it again by pouring it out or something else. Oh well. Well, you know, it boils down to the same thing, right? What do you control? What do you not control, you know? You control what goes into your mouth, right? You control how other people can hurt you, you know? I mean, sticks and stones, you know, at the end of the day, when people say things to you, and I know it's a trite answer, but it's true, you know? It's not what other people say to you that matters. It's how you react to it, you know? I mean, if you act like a rock, you know, try insulting a rock, you know? It's very difficult to do that, you know? It's only because you can insult somebody, hurt somebody's feelings or whatever, that you can get into somebody's head that way. you know, there's going to be times in every person's life who stops drinking which will push them to the edge, and push them to that stage where they want to drink again. You know, I've had a couple of people dying on me since I've stopped drinking, but you know, luckily enough, I've been a long way away from it. My father sort of went into hospital in that first year. He went in. I stopped in January. He went in at the beginning of June. I think it was around the 3rd or 4th of June that year. And you know, we were told he wasn't going back out again, so that could have set me off. And under normal circumstances, if I was younger and I wasn't thinking the way I do think, then I think I would have succumbed and I would have gone back onto it. But yeah, it's, as I say, it all depends on how you view these things. But at the end of the day, you know, a lot of this stuff is trying to find coping mechanisms for dealing with things like that and refusing, you know, making that 100% commitment at the beginning. Say, I'm going to be 100% responsible for doing this. I'm not going to go back on the alcohol regardless of what happens. And yeah, I'm not going to put it back into my mouth. Once you make that and you're 100% committed to that, no matter what happens, you're not going to drink. You will find another way of dealing with these things, you know. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It's not ever easy, you know, to deal with these things, you know. And, you know, some people find this a lot more difficult than other people because they're, you know, they're more emotionally wired, if you want to put it like that. But it doesn't mean to say that you can't deal with it, because, you know, it's all about reactions. It's about your response. That's what responsibility is all about. It's your ability to respond and how you respond. So, like I say, I know it's easy for me to say that 4.5 years in, but you're not going to get away from alcohol if you keep using excuses to go back onto it. And I'm sorry, but, you know, when somebody hurts you, it's an excuse to go back on. You know, and that's what your regret is telling you. You know, your guilt the next morning, it's just regret. So, you know, keep going at it, and you'll get there. You know. Last one from Wapla again. I love how you keep it simple. I've been listening to you for a couple of hours daily for weeks now, and it's been getting so much easier to not drink. I'm not drinking. The education, counselling, insight, practical advice you give are invaluable to me. You've had an incredibly positive effect on me, my relationships, depression, self-esteem. Thank you, and I'm going to keep watching, listening. Well, I appreciate you saying that. I'll give you a thumbs up for that one. I like that one. But it goes, what you said there is, you know, you've been listening for a couple of hours daily for weeks now, and it's getting so much easier not to drink. And that's what it's about in the beginning. It's hammering that point home over and over again, whether it's listening to my videos or listening to your own affirmations, whether it's doing visualizations. It's hammering the point home that life before quitting drinking is shit. Life after quitting drinking is going to be so much better, right? And that's what you have to hammer home to yourself. You have to be positive about what's coming and negative about what's gone, right? And if you can do that, right, and you can keep hammering home that point, keep pushing the point and making it habitual, you know, you'll get there. You'll start to build in your own self-confidence. You start to build in your own experience, your own knowledge, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, thanks for that comment. Thanks for all the comments. If you want to be featured in any of these shows, again, just leave a comment on, I've got stuck on doing them on YouTube. Next one I'll go over to the website and I'll do some comments over on the website. So if you want to have your comment, or if you want me to answer any questions, then give us a shout. Put your comment either on YouTube or over on the website, and I'll do that. Until next time, until the next podcast, my name is Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Take very good care of yourself. Keep the alcohol out of your mouth, and onwards and upwards. Take care. Bye bye now.